Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
All right. Okay. Chapo, Monday, August 22nd. Title of this episode, Where's Felix?
Where's Felix?
Where's Felix?
Where in the world is Felix Biederman?
It's a Matt and I duo episode today.
Yeah, the rare bipolarity chat.
We'll let you know what happens with Felix at a future date.
Is this the end of Felix?
I hope not. I hope not. But it is Monday, August 22nd, and the show must go on.
Indeed.
I guess
The show must go, Brandon.
I said that the first thing I wanted to talk about on today's show was just a brief little check-in with our boy with the homemade gun who killed former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. I bring this up because I saw a little news item that states that something like 59% of the Japanese public does not want an official state funeral for Shinzo Abe.
Yep. And the popularity of his Liberal Democratic Party's cabinet, which is in power right now, is abysmal. Everyone's mad at them.
So, I mean, I guess the way to think about this is this the most successful assassination in history?
I mean, when you think about what the goals are that people ostensibly have, I mean, if we're talking about ones carried out by, conspiracies and networks of people connected to power structures, their assassinations tend to be very successful. But it's very rare that the lone nut gets what he wants, unless it's just to be famous.
Yeah, I'm talking you're right. There are professional assassinations, Patrice Lumumba, Che Guevara,
John F. Kennedy,
JFK, things like that. But this is a true amateur.
Yeah.
A true amateur, just a man with a mission who was just, sick of his mom getting ripped off by the Moonies.
Yeah. And he decided, I'm going to go down to the last remaining Radio Shack on Earth and just buy enough products until I build something that can kill the former prime minister with.
Well, and it seems like he got his wish because, his party is just oh, well, yeah, we'll stop doing stuff with the Moonies.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We will not.
We're sorry. We're sorry. We won't do that anymore.
I mean, it is very funny, but it's also definitely true. I mean, I'm not a Japan hand, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say that some significant portion of the outrage of this revealed link between the LDP and the Moonies is that they are a Korean church.
Yeah.
And the thought of them, of the LDP just over there, just rubbing elbows with a bunch of Koreans, it probably doesn't sit right with a lot of Japanese people.
And their gaijin religion.
Yeah. Ugh,
Christianity?
Christianity? No, thank you.
Many leading Moonies also have B positive B blood type.
Yep, no good. Get it out of here.
Get it out of here. I don't know. I'm interested in this because, as far as scrappy, lunch pail, can-do attitude assassins, I think this one was successful because there's something so distinctly kind of apolitical about his goal.
Yeah.
It wasn't any kind of grand political strategy. It was just sort of this guy ripped off my mom.
Yeah,
and
I'm broke now, and I'm mad at you.
I'm very disappointed in him.
Mm-hmm.
I find him very unsatisfactory.
Yeah. Also, I one time I almost made it onto BattleBots, and I've been pissed about that ever since. And now I'm going to show you guys just how good I could be at creating amateur weapons of death.
Well,
that fucking thing had an electric trigger.
An electric
what
trigger.
The shit, man. Damn, very impressive. But that's just it. I think that he wanted it more, and I think it's nice, kind of, that he kind of was rewarded for that.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just an interesting thing. I mean, I think it's usually when a political figure dies, there's or is murdered, there's an outpouring of support. And when presidents die of old age, everyone pretends they were a great leader and a wonderful president.
Yep.
Like when Ronald Reagan or George H.W. Bush died. But I don't know. It's like the Japanese people, they just all decided decided en masse at the
Fuck
same
this
time. They
guy.
were just like, you know what? Fuck this guy. He sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. Let's throw him into a fucking ditch.
They're just going to.
Not even a fuck state funeral. No funeral. Just dumping him into a sewer. Just a nude body floating into the ocean.
Just gonna just airdrop him into the Fukushima exclusion zone and just have his carcass ripped apart by feral dogs.
Yep.
Well, that's what you get. That's what you get for trucking with the Moonies.
It's true.
Ripping off old ladies for their fucked up CIA-backed fascist church.
Yeah. I mean, there is something amazing about that life trajectory. So Shinzo Abe, the child of one of the chief perpetuators of the Japanese genocidal colonial project in China, becomes like an inner circle figure within this massively powerful. Like the LDP is the political state and the deep state at the same time, basically, and spending years in office, pulling the strings, and then you leave office because you've got IBS basically, and then just
is that true? Is that why he left office?
He had chronic Crohn's or something. He had the doo-doo bug. And he'd had to step down previously to take a break after
take a shit.
And then in retirement, somebody just blows you apart with a package of fireworks, and then your entire legacy is destroyed.
Yeah, it's people say Japan is sort of I don't know, a country in decline, or no one wants to leave the house, everyone wants to play video games, but there's still some can-do spirit, there's still a can-do attitude.
There's a bit of grit out there.
Yeah,
there are still some people who have Sigma grind set in glorious Nippon, and it'll be interesting to see them in the future.
Well, I just wanted to check in on Japan briefly, because I was fascinated by just how universally Japan has just decided to just
on a dime
just piss on the grave of their former prime minister, because I don't know, I think they identify with the guy that killed them.
They kind of do,
and I think they identify with him because it's because it was so apolitical. He was just I'm dissatisfied with you.
Well, that's just it. Is that everyone is being ripped off. Everyone feels that they're ripped off, but it's all through an individual lens, and that can only ever accidentally have a meaningful political element. And this is a perfect example. His general sense of dissatisfaction is concentrated on the specific fact of his mother's exploitative relationship with the Church of Unification, and then from there he then builds onto resentment of Abe and the LDP. It's not from any of their policies specifically, or anything having to do with the grander structures that they perpetrate, even though those are the real sources of alienation and resentment. And that's the great challenge of this moment, is that there is so much alienation being felt, but it's being channeled pretty much everywhere but the political.
I don't know. It'd be like if someone someone took a shot at Joe Biden because they didn't like the way he rode a bike or something.
I mean, he does ride his bike like a bitch.
All right. Well, let's move to the domestic political scene. New power rankings released by the Washington Post. The top 10 Republican presidential candidates.
Oh, thank God! I'm glad we're doing this.
These are new power rankings. Let's go through. According to the Washington Post, was their top 10 contenders. And when we get to the end of it, I do want to talk about the interesting Trump DeSantis. The battle lines being drawn. It'd be interesting to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah.
But let's go through the power rankings first. Coming in at number 10, Donald Trump Jr.
Oh man.
According to the Washington Post, they say, as we've said before, this applies only to a scenario in which his father doesn't run. God, think how that funny that would be if they both ran against each other. Think how bad Donald Trump would own his own son.
Oh, it's just he would not stop for a second, folks. He's never any good.
He's he throws a ball like a girl.
He tried to wear a jersey to a Yankee game. Okay, he wasn't going to wear a suit. I had to smack him some sense into him.
It says, but that's a scenario in which some polls show him running as high as second, with the caveat that we don't have a lot of good polling. You clearly have a base to work with, but capitalizing on that is another matter. And it's not just about lobbing bombs from the sideline, which is his true talent. Previous ranking, 7. So Donald Trump Jr. has fallen.
Oh, no.
3 spots.
Oh, no.
Matt, what do you think about in a scenario in which Donald Trump doesn't run for president, Don Jr. running in his place?
I mean, it's very hard to imagine a scenario where Donald Trump doesn't run, but maybe he dies, something like that. And there's the son to carry on the mantle. I think he would lose to DeSantis because I think that would shatter the whole collective and give people sort of permission to seek a new leader. Because at the end of the day, as much as our friend Don Jr. loves to try to sound like his dad,
If you know, I've noticed that recently, he's really trying to sound like his speech.
it's
cadence.
uncanny. If you look at any of those insane videos where he's just gacked out of his mind and his eyes are like red little slits and he's clearly been up for 3 days and he's just enunciating the words. He's doing a bad Donald Trump impression. It's not even a good one. He doesn't even sound good. He's not as good as James Austin Johnson, that's for sure.
I mean, I do tons of bad Trump impressions. I mean, my Trump impression is I always revert to Jiminy Glick.
Yeah.
I go, what do you do? What are you going to do a movie? What are you going to do something that really clicks with the public? And Don Jr. Don Jr. Hey,
Yeah.
What do you know? I'm talking go too low. And I go very high.
Yeah, I think that it would sort of be like how after the death of Muhammad, he had the Sunni Shia split.
Yeah.
There were the ride or dies for Ali, his son-in-law, but the majority ended up going with the Umayyads, and I think that would be how it would go here.
What about the occluded son, Eric? How come no one's speculating? How come no one's speculating on Eric jumping in the race?
I mean, it's because he has not been drawn to like doing the political stuff.
Yeah, no, he's running the business. He's been making
Right.
Trump Magazine.
Right. Like this is how you know that Don Jr. is the biggest loser of the kids.
Yeah.
Because he is the one who most emphatically started doing the political stuff and like started doing all the red meat shit and going to CPAC and hanging out with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fucking loser who has nothing else going on. Presumably Eric Trump, as much as he might be a goon, is occupied.
He's got golf courses to run
with actual stuff, which means that Don Jr. of the kids was clearly never given a real job in the organization. Like they gave him an office and a salary, but and a secretary and everything, but the phone wasn't plugged in. And now that's why he's fled to politics, refuge of the loser. But yeah, it's not going to be enough.
All right, coming in at number 9 is Mike Pompeo. The Washington Post writes the former Secretary of State returns to this list, showing all the signs of a guy who will run. Those include running digital ads in Iowa and South Carolina. Also worth watching, he recently became one of the highest profile Trump officials to testify to the House committee investigating January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. And afterward, he seemed to temper his denial about having discussed removing Trump from office using the 25th Amendment, saying merely that it hadn't been discussed seriously. It'll sure be interesting.
We were kidding.
It'll sure be interesting to see how Trump backers respond to whatever testimony Pompeo provided.
Removing Trump with the 25th Amendment was a suggestion someone shouted out during a game of Whose Line Is It Anyway style improv we were playing.
Previous ranking not applicable. So I mean, he's making his debut on the list at 9.
I hate this list. Infuriates because it's like this is garbage, but at the same time, you know why people like it and why they'd rather talk about it than policy because it's sports, and sports is fun to talk about. How are you going to put Pompeo on the list? Pompeo, no rings. What's Pompeo got? He was Secretary of State for what? 2 years, 2 or 3 years? He wasn't even the whole time.
No, Matt, the thing about Pompeo is, he's not a 5-tool player. He's got 2 tools at most, but he's cutting. He's cutting weight. He's down. He's got the lap band surgery. He's lost about 100 pounds. I think he's hungry. We're going to see him at the combine, and a lot of GMs.
I mean, he's definitely
a lot of
hungry.
GMs that could be looking to trade up. Get Mike Pompeo.
I mean, he's definitely hungry.
Oh, yeah. He's always hungry.
He's hungry. Always hungry.
Well, now
his stomach's the size of a fucking
now that his stomach's been reduced to the size of a fucking walnut. Yeah.
I never understand the Pompeo thing. I get why he wants to be president because he's a dumb hick, but I don't understand why anyone takes it seriously. What is his value add, especially even without Trump in there? Who does he represent?
Matt,
what the big foreign policy heads among the American base Republican voter?
Matt, dog, you're forgetting. He's going to make a strong pitch to the foreign policy. We all remember the Abraham Accords. A lot of people say that was the Mike Pompeo Accords.
Oh God,
the Abraham Accords would never have happened without Mike Pompeo.
I mean, yeah, that's the pitch. I guess is that he's the nerd's pick. But those guys are never going to be able to move the dial. We know that.
Mike Pompeo he's too much of a pig. He's just too much of a swine.
He's got nothing. He has nothing. He has no charisma. He has no media angle. He doesn't have any sound bites. He doesn't have any memorable wars with the deep state or with woke Hollywood.